Welcome to today's final breakout session, Future-Proofing HR Careers with AI. Here to moderate is Lattice's People Operations Manager, Kate Stewart.
Hi everyone, welcome to Future-Proofing Your HR Careers with AI. HR is and always will be about people, culture, and trust, but to keep leading in those areas, we're gonna have to keep evolving. And today, our session is all about how HR leaders are using AI to save time, make sharper decisions, and focus more on the work that drives people and the business forward. And I am joined by two incredible HR leaders, so let's do a quick intro. Anisha, if you want to start.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Anisha Thomas, head of people at Inscribe AI, where we're building AI agents for risk teams at financial institutions. And outside of work and beyond work, I'm a mom to a golden doodle, a 2-year-old, and I'm expecting my second child, human child, in September.
Hello, I am Chuck Marcelin. I am the Director of HR for Hudson Valley Property Group. HVPG, we are a private equity firm that finds, acquires, builds, and maintains affordable housing across the country. So it's a tremendous mission, great people. I have a dog, 2 dogs, I should remember. 2 dogs, 1 kid, and I am an avid golfer. So that's my quick bio.
Amazing. Welcome. So let's definitely get into it, and we're gonna start with something super tactical. What is one prompt, AI prompt, or workflow that has become a game changer for your team? Can you walk us through how you use it and impact? So Chuck, I'd love for you to share your example first.
Yeah, AI moves so fast. 6 months ago was so different than it is today. It's going to be so different in another 6 months. I consider myself an early adopter. All right, I was all in. I'm a Gemini Google guy, so I use Gemini all the time. I thought I was so advanced with my gems over a year ago, doing so many cool things. And now I'm pretty AI agnostic. Right, I wouldn't use a hammer for every job in my house, right, to make holes everywhere. So I use different tools for different things. And one of the most game-changing workflows is around our equity. Right, in a private equity world where I'm not overly familiar with, I'm come from the world of startups, a lot more ISOs and RSUs, and in private equity I had to learn about our carried interest function, and I got thrown into the fire, and people would ask me about how many basis points I have in Fund 1 or Fund 2, when their vesting commencement dates are, 84B forms and stuff that I just had no idea. So every time I got a question, I'd reach out to my law firm. They charged me $1,500 an hour. They'd take forever to get back, which was pretty expensive. And then I'd just share the information back. And it was a very just middleman type of process. Now I have custom GPTs for every single fund that we have. Every employee that's in that fund, they specifically ask it those core questions. So it's saving a lot of time for me and a lot of money. But on top of that, I'm able to learn now. So I take the same information, all of our agreements, all the FAQs and emails that my law firm built out, and I put that into Notebook LM, which is a tremendous tool if you haven't heard of it, and it's very used in like the education space, but now I'm able to learn myself. I'm educating myself on our carried interest function, and whenever we have a new employee join a specific fund, I share that deep dive with them, I share the insights with them, and now they're able to learn and ask AI questions versus me, who has no idea, which has been a pretty big game-changing workflow for me.
Anisha.
Yeah, so I actually used ChatGPT to plan our global offsite a couple months ago. And so I inputted a few details saying I'm planning a company offsite in Ireland from this state to this state for this amount of employees, X amount of employees flying from these different countries, create a detailed planning doc and agenda with XYZ within XYZ budget. And why it was a game changer is because I actually saved my company $10K instead of using an outside vendor that typically plans our offsites. And on top of that, ChatGPT provided a prompt of, hey, a suggestion about, why don't you do a hackathon instead? And so we actually generated revenue from our offsite because we shipped 4 features within 2 days. That's definitely going in my performance review when it comes to business impact, but yeah.
I love that. And I think on my end, recently I've actually started using it as a thank you partner. So I'll drop a proposed idea or a workflow in and have it basically like poke holes in my logic and challenge my assumptions and even offer a counterpoint. And it's not to make faster answers or better answers. It's really more to like get clarity in my head before I'm taking it to the team. So, and I want to build on that. We often hear about how AI is enabling strategic HR. So Chuck, what does that look like in your day-to-day?
Yeah, for us, we care a lot about our values like many other companies. And one of our values is simplify the complex. And I think AI is the biggest way to simplify complex things that I don't fully understand. And one of the biggest areas that I'm using it heavily is in workforce planning. We are a small team, and our goal is to maintain the team that we have now, not fire people, but ultimately, how can we be smarter about hiring? And a couple months ago, maybe like a month and a half ago, I had a manager reach out to me, a leader on our team, and it's a tale as old as time. Right? Work is ramping up. I need a new hire. I walked through the process with them, and then I asked them to give me a week. Right? I said, before you make the pitch to our founders for additional headcount, just give me a week. And a week later, we meet up, and I'm not an AI expert by any means, but I showed them a couple workflows that I built out, connecting Zapier to Salesforce and a few other different tools, custom GPT. I showed them a workflow that they can build out, making their own custom agent. 3 days later, they come to me and say, you know what, I don't need that additional headcount anymore. And that role, the resource was going to be so administrative. We found that 80% of that job that they would have done, AI can now handle. And so for us, it was really about how we can think about the budget. We're spending $40 a month on 2 different tools that we weren't using versus 6 figures on a new hire. But ultimately, how can we work smarter with the team that we have right now? And I think that's strategic HR in a nutshell, right? How you can utilize AI to be more effective with the team that you have in front of you.
Yeah. Now, shifting gears for a moment, how do you balance the efficiency gains from AI, but also maintaining the human touch that is, it defines great HR? Anisha, how do you feel, or how do you balance those two sides?
Yeah, so I'm actually a team of 1, and so there's a lot I have on my plate, and there's a ton of admin work that I'm not super excited by or motivated by, like writing job descriptions, for example. And so those types of tasks are great for AI, and I can actually focus my time and energy where I can have the most impact, which is actually coaching and being the strategic advisor to my leadership team, or spending time with candidates and building relationships and really seeing, hey, is this actually going to be a culture fit? And so, yeah, that's the way I just don't burn out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I add?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. Jump in.
For me, you mentioned the word coaching. Not to brag, I was a former high school and college lacrosse coach. It was fairly decent. Went semi-pro myself, but COVID ruined that. Coaching is like the thing I love the most about HR, the ability to connect with our actual people. And honestly, AI has freed me up so much. I'm also a team of 1, and so much of my time was focused on just being reactive, and now I'm more proactive. Just last week, I had a conversation with one of our PMs. We did a reorg, and they have a new manager, and they were telling me in every single one-on-one, there's like 80 comments on their shared sheet. And they were so disheartened because they were working so efficiently beforehand, and now they feel like they're trying to catch up. So I shared my secret that over a year ago, I still use Gemini, sitting in the Google Workspace, and if anyone reports to 2 founders, you could understand how difficult it is to share information in 2 different ways. And I only have so much time with them every single month. And so I have custom gems built out for their personas, right? An Andy gem, a Jason gem, and it sees everything. It sees all the emails, all the comments, and all the sheets, and every feedback that I've gotten. And for me, whenever I am asking for something or pitching a new idea or talking through a process, I put it into those gems first, and I prepare myself. And my meetings with them are so smooth now. I am able to anticipate what they're going to ask me because I asked my gem first. I am able to just be so efficient. So I shared that with that project manager. Just yesterday, they reached back out to me and said that in their one-on-one, there was half the amount of comments. And they were so excited. They were glowing. You could hear it in their voice how they felt like they were able to now get ahead a little bit more. So AI that was a way AI helped me and it helped them. But ultimately, because I have all the workflows, all the agents, I'm doing so many different things. I have more time in my day to have conversations that I wasn't having beforehand.
Yeah. I was just going to add, I'm a first-time manager, and I was like, I don't know how. I had so many books that I was reading, put those all in, and then I also was like, oh, we have personality quizzes. How can I help, like, throw those in so that I'm addressing it to how the person receives feedback or how they want to be, you know, recognized and things like that. And so I'm going into those more prepared, and I'm able to, you know, reach the person a little bit more than, you know, maybe how I would be more unfiltered in approaching it. I think, again, it just helps me be more proactive and being able to be like the best manager that I can be. And so I definitely love using AI for those examples. So thank you. Because AI obviously can help us stay focused and human, but even with the best tools, there's always going to be surprises. Anisha, what's something that's caught you off guard, delightful, or daunting about using AI in your practice?
Yeah, so at first, I was pretty wary of how much information I'm inputting into AI and ChatGPT, for example, especially in non-protected accounts. I'm sensitive to the fact that AI learns, and so who has access to what are they training on? And so when we decided to give everyone access to an enterprise protected account in our company, I've been all go. I love the fact that it's already picked up on my tone, my way of thinking. We've gone beyond just like using ChatGPT as a Google search. And I actually asked it the other day of, can you describe my leadership style based on our interactions so far? And I felt it was pretty spot on and very similar to my Insights profile, which is a personality assessment, work style assessment. And so we actually use that as an icebreaker in one of our leadership team meetings just to see what ChatGPT has learned about our leadership team.
Yeah, your little stacks of colors with a little foam.
Yep.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Can I add one thing to that? Very recently, we all know that ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever you're using, it has the ability to spit out false information. I did a workshop, and I realized that it was really daunting because you're always verifying so much stuff, and where is it making up this information, pulling it from the sky? And now I understand that there are ways to train it a little bit more by telling it not to hallucinate when you're putting your prompts in. And that was one of the most eye-opening things. It's pretty delightful, not daunting now, because telling it to just, it's training on our data a little bit, but it sees our documents and tell it not to hallucinate from our documents. Everything that we're putting in there, it's able to continue to only answer the question specific to that. And then if it doesn't have the answer, it's trained to say, reach out to Chuck, and he knows. And then I reach out to my law firm, and then they charge me a lot of money. But no, I think that's really something that one of the biggest takeaways from a session I learned was just training it to know not to hallucinate off of the information, because it will just create if it doesn't know.
Yeah. Well, it really shows like how fast AI is evolving and how important it is just to keep reevaluating how we're using it. So Chuck, looking ahead, is there one skill or mindset that you think HR leaders will need most to stay relevant in an AI-powered world? Yeah,
we need to be very good at critical thinking. AI is, we all know that it's not really going anywhere. So many people were scared of the dot-com boom, and now it's just everywhere. People were scared of keyboards when typewriters came out, and it just continues to evolve. So we have to be smart about what we put in. I had an old CEO that always said, trust but verify. And so when we put information in the inputs, we have to verify the outputs. We can't just trust it as gold, but we have to also understand what we are prompting it to do and what the outputs are saying. We have to look at the AI data through that HR lens. I heard the phrase be AI literate, not illiterate. And I think that's really, really beneficial for us to know that we have to put the right information in and know what it's actually saying. As we do continue to evolve and AI continues to evolve, it's our job, not as engineers, but HR engineers. We have to be able to engineer a process that is really smart. The landscape is going to expand. When I first started working in HR, and this number changes for everyone, but I was told 50 employees, you have one HR person, right? And you kind of go through that. let's just say those numbers are true. Now the bandwidth for us is going to be different. For every 75 or 100 employees, you're going to have one HR person. Because we have the ability to create more workflows, create agents and different tools that could answer the questions for our employees, and we could do more with our time. And so to really kind of future-proof ourselves, we have to think critically with the information that we're putting in, and not being afraid to try it out ourselves, right? We have to, fool around in there and figure it out.
Yeah. Anisha, I'd love your take on that too.
Yeah, on a similar note, I really do believe that teams are going to remain lean for the foreseeable future, especially early stage startups. And we just have to embrace and lean into AI. And it's really knowing what use cases and solutions AI is great for and the problems that it can solve, and where human insight is actually the superpower. Like one example, which is just like start small and get everyone like AI enabled within our company. AI is great for note taking. And so where I can lean in as a leader is asking everyone to rotate and synthesize the AI notes. So it's not just one person who becomes the AI expert within the team. It's actually everyone is getting exposure. And then more generally, an advice I have is, regardless of what stage your company is at, if you're an operator or you're a leader, always stay hands-on. I think that's the best way to future-proof your career, because being an operator, to be in the weeds and then to be in the clouds and connect the dots is super important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I feel like what's really resonated with me is that curiosity is super underrated. I think the people who are going to thrive in this AI just powered world aren't going to be the ones who know all of the answers. They're going to be the ones constantly asking, like, what else can this do? What might this look like in 6 months from now? You really have to be open to new possibilities, and then being, willing to learn as you go as well. So we've talked about productivity strategy, but let's talk about trust. What is one way that you've used AI to elevate trust between HR and the business, not just efficiency? So Anisha, let's start with you.
Yeah, it's about going from being reactive to predictive, where AI is great for spotting sentiment, morale shifts, engagement surveys, and analyzing that. That's not my strong suit. I'm pretty high level and think in the clouds a lot of the time and go off of my gut feelings. So it really helps from a data standpoint. So back in Q4 last year, we were seeing a shift in morale. It was not so great, maybe based on a few interactions and conversations I had. I think it was because of unclear goals. And so I changed our pulse survey questions to really understand and uncover what's going on. And Lattice has a great feature here, by the way, to help kind of spot those trends and actually back up my suspicion that I had and my hypothesis that I had of what's happening. And so in Q1, I was able to actually shift what we were working on and how we created a more targeted, customized solution of let's do expectation setting with all managers. And so we spent a lot of time having managers have conversations with each of their team members on what their goals are for Q1 and making sure that that was clear. And I think that's like one way I build trust with the business.
Yeah. Chuck, what's that look like in your org?
Yeah, well, first off, I have a bone to pick with Lattice. I spent 3 weeks building up my own sentiment analysis tool, and you had to announce it. It looks so much cooler than what I've been working on. So I'm pretty mad about that, because I was telling everyone that we're able to do all this cool stuff, and AI is going to help, and you guys are doing it, which is amazing. And I think that's one of the biggest things is if I'm thinking of it, smarter people, smarter companies are thinking of it as well. I'm really lucky. My leaders they're all in, almost annoyingly so. They want everyone to work smarter with AI. And so for me, it's almost an expectation that everything that I'm doing, there's some way, shape, or form that AI is going to play a factor in it. One of the coolest things that we've done recently is one of our teams is very Excel heavy, and we use Sheets a lot. So Gemini sits in the Google workspace, and we were able to identify a trend in our asset management team on, this is getting too technical, but people that aren't really calculating bad debt correctly. We saw it as a trend for our asset managers. And for us, being able to identify that trend, we actually got our entire asset management team trained on a new way of actually doing that, not with AI, just different formulas and things that they were able to work on specific to that department. But it was super eye-opening that we're able to, that's sitting on top of everything that we work with. And so even something as simple as just training is a big way that we could utilize it there and build trust. Our leaders now understand that AI is going to play a factor, so they're looking at different ways, they're looking at the different tools that it can sit on top of to start to identify trends within our core teams to, again, work smarter and train and develop our team members to be as effective as possible.
Okay, last question. So what is a decision that you have recently made faster or better because of AI? And how did it change the outcome? Chuck, let's hear yours first.
Yeah, I don't know. Faster is a hard word there, but I mentioned we're asking the questions. I mentioned earlier the hiring example. We're telling our teams first and foremost in every conversation, your job is safe. We want you here, you're protected. But the first question that we're always asking people is, how can AI help? And it doesn't help in every single job scenario. I had a manager just 2 weeks ago that I asked the same question, and AI couldn't do the job. They needed someone that has experience in closing deals in California tax credit law. That's just something AI can't do. But we're being really smart and strategic on focusing on our core team and how AI can help them learn and grow. So from a hiring perspective, that's really the first kind of point of questioning, is how is AI going to play a role, if it can, for your job. The second half of it is really focused on our core staff. We understand, especially in the space that I'm at now, it's private equity and it's real estate. It's kind of dated when it comes to technology. So in my check-ins I'm having with our teams, half the people don't know what AI really can do. And so we're educating and we're training on that. We are doing the simple trainings on prompting. We're doing the simple trainings through different academies with our team so that they can learn how it can be useful for their specific departments. But then we're also challenging them on the big higher level workflows, and not just what do you want it to do, but here's a resource and here's $20,000 through a consultant. Can you actually make this happen? Because we're not a team of engineers in my company at least, so we have to give them the additional resource and the ownership on creating that bigger workflow. And that's been really cool. It's a fun initiative right now, and our team's buying in. Right? It helps that, again, our founders are so gung-ho about it, so when we're constantly communicating that their jobs are safe, it's not hitting on with everybody, but our goal is not to fire people. Our goal is to truly make their jobs a little bit more effective so that they could think a little bit more big picture and keep our team as small and lean as possible, as Anisha was mentioning. So that's been something we're able to do fairly quickly, and we're ramping up on it even now.
Anisha, I know you have a great hiring example.
Yeah, before I share that, to Chuck's point, headcount planning just looks so different than it was like a couple of years ago. We don't have a beautiful annual plan at all. We're actually now tying it to business outcomes and our revenue and milestones. We're really challenging hiring managers to think about how is this actually going to have business impact, how is it impacting our revenue, ARR, and if there's other solutions out there. And not just AI, but could it be part-time, could it be a consultant, and to think outside of the box before we go straight to hiring. But speaking of hiring, we actually are hiring a customer engineer right now. And based on a debrief that we had, we actually wouldn't have moved forward with this candidate based on a few things that came up. But we had this idea of like, why don't we input this data and feedback and align it to our intake form in ChatGPT and just see what it recommends. And it actually recommended that we do move forward with this candidate. And so we actually, good judgment, critical thinking here. We said, yeah, why don't we move forward with this candidate? And so I know there's still talks about AI replacing jobs, but I think this is a great example of AI providing opportunities.
Yeah, it's not the usual narrative, right? Okay, well, we're gonna spend some time, taking questions from the audience. You can submit through the Slido, the QR code, or if you prefer to ask live, just raise your hand and someone with a mic will come, but wait till you get the mic. We can start with this first one. So ChatGPT seems to be the most popular AI tool right now. What do you think it struggles with, and what alternatives do you use?
I'll start with this one. I think ChatGPT is the best marketed one, and they're in the news good and bad, and so many people love to use it. And it is a great and super powerful tool. I talked about how I was now AI agnostic, but I was heavily using Gemini, and it sits in the Google ecosystem. So because of that, I use that for anything that connects through Google Drive, Gmail, Sheets, Docs, etc. I use ChatGPT heavily when it comes to building out custom GPTs that I could share out with the greater team. I think it's really knowledgeable when it comes to understanding documents a little bit better. I use a Notebook LM a lot for education. I put our entire handbook in there, and then I send it out, a deep dive to every single new hire that joins. We've only had 3 so far, but I send it out to them. And it's a 15-minute podcast style with AI voices, and they are talking through the top 5 things that people tend to ask and question from our handbook. Usually no one asks questions, no one reads the handbook, right? But if you can listen for 15 minutes about the top 5 things in your handbook, that's been really beneficial. So when I'm checking in with our new hires, they mention that that's been really cool. So yeah, I think there's so many different tools out there. Those are different alternatives that I'm using heavily right now. I use Suno AI, if anyone knows that. I create a custom song for every new hire. The manager gives me the department theme, so there's some rock, some pop, a lot of like Taylor Swift sounding for our Gen Zs, but it's that's been really cool. There's just so many cool tools. So we like to F around and find out. We like to see what tools are out there. We like to figure out how it works, and we give everyone the autonomy to do the same. And then if it is a tool that can be beneficial for your department, like I said in that hiring example, we're spending $40 on 2 different AI tools that's going to make that department more effective. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different alternatives out there, and I probably won't keep using all of them because new ones are going to keep popping up.
Yeah, and I also recommend just if you don't have access to ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude and whatnot, our engineering team has access to everything, so I need to start asking for access. But look at your current tech stack, right? In terms of Lattice, what they're building out, or your ATS, they actually have a lot of great AI features or now AI agents. And so I think that's actually something to explore, because now rather than going to ChatGPT, I'm just like everything will be in Lattice, which is amazing.
I think for me, I was building now like our people bot and the Lattice agent, we actually did have a foundation of ChatGPT, but I was experimenting with Claude from Anthropic and then also Gemini, and I found that Claude would start getting creative when I didn't want it to, especially answering questions about HR stuff. That just adds a whole lot of risk right there. But it would like flourish and be like, oh, I'm so like, oh, congratulations on this, or like, but go so crazy that you're like, wow, like, thank you for the whole story, but that's not what I needed. ChatGPT is very precise. It does really well with data analysis too. I do like how Claude creates like a communications plan. Because it adds a little bit more human element. I don't have as much with Gemini, but those are the 3.
You're missing out.
It did actually just get turned on for us, so I will start looking. It does help with my emails, though. So yeah, I haven't really found anything that has like dropped it down yet to compare. So, okay, so what AI academies are you using to train your team? We're struggling to find one that suits various levels of AI experience.
Yeah, I'm happy to say that that role is delegated to someone else. We did a big leadership one, academy. It was called the Vijal Institute. We had an AI expert fly in from Spain. He was awesome, and he taught us so much over the course of a day. And it's a 3-day training that we just condensed into 1 day. So that was a lot. But I saw the Knicks game after, so that was pretty cool. When we won that game, but then we lost and fired our coach. But I don't know why I went there. With the different academies, though, there's a lot out there. We are testing 3 right now. So we're splitting up by department. So we have some departments using one, a handful of other departments using another, and then another that's on standby. Because we're not afraid. We're not afraid to just see how it's going to affect different people. Because I don't think it's going to be a one-size-fits-all. And I think, again, to the point of using the different tools, even for academies, you can be AI agnostics. Different teams, they may teach your engineers better than they may teach your product managers and designers or marketers. And so being able to understand what different academies can do for you is going to be really important. But yeah, the Vijala Institute I highly recommend from a leadership perspective. It was really great, especially getting that executive level buy-in.
Yeah, so when we shifted our strategy to build AI agents, we had everyone take Fast AI as the course. It's virtual. It was pretty technical. So then we actually held lunch and learns and had our engineers break it down for us non-technical folks. And so that was a great way for all of us to rally behind AI.
Yeah, we did a bunch of lunch and learns, from this is how you build a custom GPT to how our CEO was actually using AI as well, but then also having legal and IT come in, like this is the data that you can and should not put into AI, the LLMs. Me personally, I joined the Women Defining AI community. I paid my dues, and I learned that's probably where all of my knowledge came from. So shout out to them. They are such a great community of just a bunch of women who are teaching us about very small, how do you even prompt engineer, what's a prompt engineer, all the way up to automation. So I think there are a lot of communities out there also on LinkedIn that you can find, or just those who are really curious and like the champions of AI within your orgs that want to do all these like lunch and learns and like how can we help share the knowledge. So
also, OpenAI sent out an email about a week or so ago, and I mean, people are sending out free information. It's like 8 minutes for how to do entry-level, intermediate, and advanced work with ChatGPT. So I mean, there's a lot of outside information that you can utilize as well without having to spend a lot of money.
what about asking ChatGPT, how do I?
You can?
Yeah.
Or LLMs. I'll pause from the Q&A board. Is there anyone live that wants to ask a question? Okay, great. We'll just keep going. Do you ever get questions from employees or customers about the environmental impact of AI? How do we reconcile that?
I don't know.
I think this is I have not received that question yet.
I haven't gotten that question. Yeah, I mean, I have thoughts on it, but I haven't gotten the question.
Yeah, I haven't got the question either. We have a sustainability ERG, but I'm like thinking they haven't said anything either, so I need to go back and ask.
Well, I will say we are in the process of like raising a fairly large fund for our next set of properties that we're working on, and as we do this large fundraise, that's a question that every investor is truly asking. And so for our investor relations side, there's a lot of documentation, a lot of information. It's not really from the employee side. Our customers are people living in affordable housing, so they're not really asking the questions, but the investors that ultimately keep our lights on and make sure that we're able to do the work that we're doing, it's something that's top of mind for them. So I know our team puts a lot of information into it.
If you had more budget to spend on AI, what would you invest in next?
That's a great question. I think for me personally, I'd probably want to bring in our own internal AI engineer, ideally. We spent a decent amount, I talked about it, every employee is getting tasked with creating a big workflow, and we're using external consultants, but if I had an expert, but you know, who would manage them? We have no engineers on our team, so we have no idea how to verify work, but if I was in a different role, that's something I would look into.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to just trying out HR agents, right? Our marketing team, go-to-market team has AI SDR. Our engineering team's got Cursor AI, and so I would love budget now to just experiment and see what's there.
For me, there's so many tools out there, and LLMs for me there's a level of AI that I'm like, oh, I can continue to build so many gems or custom GPTs, but at some point they need to connect to other systems and to talk and to automate. So unlimited budget, I would have all of the automation, connecting integrations so that everything's connected, that I can have everything from one spot, shoot out and come back. So that's like the ideal agent. unlimited budget. Okay, when you build custom GPTs or gems, how do you make sure you're mitigating your biases when you're building and training them? It's a really good one.
I'll start with that. I put a lot of information in. There is the right amount of information to put into a gem versus just a regular prompt. A lot of documentation is put into that. So for the earlier example about our carried interest process that we do, it has every single employee's operating agreements, subscription agreement, all the fund documentation, and then it's told specifically don't hallucinate off of this information, which is really beneficial. So that's how I know it's not being biased, because it's only taking from the information that I'm providing it. But I go in, I verify. I see every question that our employees ask the gems, and I make sure that, oh, I didn't know that, so I'm learning. I've taken some of those responses and I put that into my notebook LM as well. So yeah, I think it's just constantly iterating and making sure that you're verifying the information that comes out. But yeah, it's telling it to be real and not go off script per se. That's how I try to mitigate the bias.
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add. I worked with, as I was building PeopleBot, I knew that it inherently was built by, I don't know, Westerners or whatever they say. So I knew that there was a lot of biases going in and how to mitigate that. So I worked with our DEIB manager and was just really trying to understand like what we could do around prompt engineering so that it could mitigate as best as we could. So I think I have about 15 prompts. I can't remember them at the top of my head, but using certain language, so all of the biases, recency bias, unconscious bias, all of that stuff. And so there's about 15 prompts that say like, please avoid doing this or don't do this and things like that. And then after I did that, it was all about training. How was it responding? Analyzing those responses and then making sure it was tested for a good amount of time before we released it out. But there's a lot of, I'm happy to also share those with anyone because my prompt is like this, it keeps getting larger and larger too, but happy to share. Okay, any live questions still? I want to make sure I'm not ignoring. I love this. Okay. What HR roles what HR roles going to stay and which HR roles you think have to evolve quickly? So what are going to stay and what has to evolve quickly?
I have a hot take, I guess. I think that, we mentioned it multiple times, that companies are going to stay lean. I think specialized roles are going to have to turn into generalized roles. I don't know. It depends on the size, depends on the company, but you can't have too many people just focused on recruiting or just focused on engagement or just focused on one core area, because there are tools that are going to allow us to get phased out. So I think you have to be more generalized and you have to be understanding of the different departments. So cross-training now is going to be really important to showcase your worth for your companies, because maybe we're not firing now, but we're not going to continue to grow, and a lot of HR people were brought on for future growth. So I think it's important I think there'll be less specialized roles for sure.
Yeah, to add off of that, with ChatGPT, I created an image, an invitation for my baby shower. And I was like, wow, I could be a designer. And I'm no longer actually tapping on my designer's shoulder when it comes to enablement material. I'm doing that on my own. So I actually think I'm gaining skill sets there too. And so not just within the HR department, I think it's going to be across the business.
I agree.
I think there's a lot of opportunity. Seems a little doom and gloom, right? But there is so much opportunity right now. I get so excited about technology. Again, I'm an early adopter for a lot of things. I think it's a perfect time for, especially early on in your career, to just learn a ton. Because there's going to be more companies, more startups that are going to stay lean, more companies that even when they're thinking about growth, they're going to look at it holistically and how you utilize AI to be an effective HR leader. And so maybe you're at a company now, it's 100 employees, and the skill sets that you're learning can be directly applied to when you go to 500 or 1,000 employees because you're utilizing AI in a really effective way. So I think this is one of the most exciting times to work in HR because it gives, if you have the opportunity to get ahead of so many people that are focused on being scared of it, right? If you're not embracing it, you're either going to have to go and do it or do it scared, right? I heard, I forgot who said, Adam Grant say that, and so I think it's really important to just do it and not be afraid, because if you are, you're going to get kind of left behind.
When you are looking at recruiting, at a candidate to recruit, do you appreciate someone who is using AI for the interview prep, resume, et cetera, or is that a red flag?
Yeah, 100%. Like, we are all about, yes, please use AI, and be transparent about that too. And so actually the way we do our exercises and how we've set it up is you can use AI to help you create that exercise, but we do have a live discussion where we do need to see their thought process and how they actually came up with their prompts or how they actually arrived to the solution. So that critical thinking aspect is still being evaluated, and so that's really important for us.
Yeah, we do the exact same thing. Yeah. We understand, and we're not going to be able to stop people from utilizing it, but we ask them the questions. We do a live presentation for different assessments, and we have people tell us, and we ask them probing questions to make sure they understand what they're actually doing and how it came to that specific output. So we're not afraid of you using it. Again, the expectation internally as an employee is that you're going to use it, so you just need to, we have to verify.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of fraudulent candidates, so that's also something to be wary of. And so that's a red flag, though, if you're using AI like to change your face or something like that.
Yeah.
It's happened.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, we can talk later.
Yeah. Okay, how are you quantifying the ROI of using AI for teams or roles that don't have specific hard metrics like quota attainment?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a quota attainment metric, but my ability to have more time is my ROI. My ability to spend more, have more conversations for our different teams. We're tasking our leaders to create what some of those metrics are that can be quantified for some departments. But yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question, because I could see it being the negative, right? People saying, well, how are you actually using AI for those hard metrics? And so if you don't have a reason for it, why are we doing it? But ultimately, I think it's the ability for your team to work more effectively is the biggest ROI, and the time and the bandwidth to do more is probably one of the most effective things possible. So I would probably have my LLM build me out what the metric would actually be for that and how to calculate it, because I have no idea how to calculate that.
Yeah, not much to add there, but yeah, just like going back to my example of the company offsite and saving my company $10K, like there's metrics there and ROI there that I can help, from a business impact standpoint. Like another metric that I'm like really watching these days is ARR per FTE, and something that I want the board to care about. And from like efficiency standpoint and our business being healthy, that's actually something that I'm a lot more mindful of.
Okay, last question. People keep saying entry-level roles is getting taken by AI. Thoughts on this, especially on entry level?
I mean, I don't think they're wrong. I was talking to some students, MBA students from Cornell, really smart, graduated, and most of them still don't have jobs. And computer scientists, people with law degrees that are getting their MBAs. It is a tough time right now. companies are going to stay lean. And I think one of the biggest areas is not being afraid to jump in early as an entry-level employee for something that you weren't expecting, right? Maybe your plan was one area, but you have the opportunity to use AI to be more effective in another. And I know a lot of people now, a lot of Gen Z are building out their own. There's a race right now for the first billion-dollar company with one employee. I think the number is 6 right now, 6 employees for a billion-dollar company. I know a lot of really smart people that just graduated that are focusing on how they can utilize their networks to, I mean, you could build a website in an hour on Replit and they could do so much utilizing AI. So I think that's going to be a big turn, and then we'll see more opportunities for lean teams with these new startups.
Yep. It is true. We're hiring for mainly senior engineers and senior talent right now, but that isn't to say that a college graduate can be qualified for a senior level depending on their skill set. So maybe entry level is like more like coordinator roles or things like that, but I do think there is opportunity to still hire early talent.
Okay, that's all the time we have for questions. Before we wrap, just one quick housekeeping. If you're here for the SHRM credits, it'll be coming to your email after, but I just want to thank you guys for joining, and thank you, Chuck and Anisha. I hope you guys are at least walking away with one idea, prompt, or an experiment that you're excited about trying. So the space is moving fast, but HR is in a very powerful position to lead. So enjoy the rest of Lattiverse, and thank you so much.